Perfect.
Welcome to T4G Sports. Was the SEC exposed? What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And before we jump into this, guys, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, click the notification bell. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter as well. Definitely be awesome. Let's jump into this beast. So the first thing I think they were exposed with is I think them talking about Indiana not belonging, SMU not belonging because the games weren't close. And then you see Tennessee and Clemson, and this didn't look so good for SEC with the optics of saying these other teams didn't belong. SMU only lost by 3 points to Clemson. So Texas, if they were as good as they say they are in the SEC, and I still think Texas could win it all, but it's still not good optics from what they were saying, right? Still not good optics because Clemson made it a closer game than SMU did with Penn State. And so it just didn't look good. And then this game was terrible. It was horrible for the SEC. It looked really bad. And they didn't say that Tennessee didn't belong. And I think that's one of the narratives right there that you can see that they've been pushing, that their teams would do better hypothetically, like Alabama would do better or South Carolina. And is that the Alabama that lost to Vanderbilt or got curb stomped by Oklahoma, who flew to the middle of the country just to kick a damn field goal and leave? Is it that Alabama, or you're going to promise me it's the one who beat Georgia? You know, which one of these hypothetical teams are gonna win this, right? South Carolina, is it the South Carolina that looked good this season at times, or is it the one that struggled against Old Dominion? Which one is it? Because where I'm having an issue with the SEC, and I respect Nick Saban greatly. I love Nick Saban, he's the GOAT. But when he says that from top down, they're better than everyone else, and, you know, and the SEC fans and other people say they shouldn't go to a 9-conference game schedule because their talent is already so great, I question what I saw this year then. Mississippi State, you lose to Arizona State, fine, it's a playoff team. Then you lose to Toledo. You get beat worse by Toledo than you did Georgia, and you played at Georgia. You played at home with Toledo. That's just not a good sign. And if anyone says, well, this happened in the beginning of the year, the only time the SEC actually plays, majority of the time they play anybody besides SEC teams, is either in the beginning of the year or it's like towards the end of the year right before they play the rival, their big rival. Okay, that's what you'll see typically. Like they had Massachusetts in towards the end of the year, but that's typically what you're going to see. Now let's look at Kentucky here. Kentucky lost worse to Louisville at home than they did to Texas at Texas, and Louisville's the fourth best ACC team. So just not great optics from that. Other than that, you know, it wasn't like the worst ever, but still not great optics. Auburn, you lost to Cal. Okay, Cal is not good. They're 6-7. They're in the ACC, and in fact, they're one of the worst ACC teams. They're tied for second worst with a 2-6 record in the ACC team, or in the ACC. So you've struggled against a very poor ACC team. Oklahoma, you struggled with Tulane, Houston, and damn near everyone besides Alabama. Vanderbilt, okay, you lost to Georgia State, for the love of God. And this is the bad part here. Georgia State's 3-9, and they're in the Sun Belt Conference, and crap, they're the second worst team in the Sun Belt Conference. The second worst team. They're 1-7 in conference play. I mean, that is just bad look right there. You go Arkansas here. You got Oklahoma State who beat you. Oklahoma State, how'd they do? They're 3-9 in the Big 12. They're 0-9. They're the worst Big 12 team. The worst Big 12 team. It's not a good sight for saying that you guys are the best from top to bottom. I mean, we're already through these teams here, and the Sun Belt has taken it to you. The Big 12, the worst Sun Belt, one of the worst Sun Belt teams, the worst Big 12 team, and one of the worst ACC teams have already taken it to your SEC teams. Not good. Florida, you struggled against Miami, who had a bad defense. Missouri, you struggled against Boston College and damn near everyone else. I mean, you crushed Massachusetts, though, which is pretty good. Ole Miss, you're always projected as a top 6 team in the preseason. You never pan out that way. You spend a bunch of money on NIL. Your coach tweets more than he wins football games. And LSU, let's go to LSU here. USC, right? USC beat LSU. USC is 6-6 in the Big Ten. They're 4-5 in conference play. They're not even a top Big Ten team. Okay, not even a top Big Ten team, and they took it to you guys. Texas A&M did pretty good. They lost to Notre Dame, and they lost at home. The thing I'll say about this is Indiana played away, and the score wasn't that far off. It's not like Notre Dame or Texas A&M was really kicking Indiana's butts in comparison to playing at home versus playing away in the first ever playoff game, in my opinion. South Carolina, one of your top teams. And I think Texas A&M did good this year, though. I do. I think they did good. I'm not taking away from them at all. But I still think just the optics of saying how great you guys are and looking at that, that's really what I'm looking at here. And then you look at South Carolina. Okay, this is a team that's pretty good, fourth in the SEC. They struggled against Old Dominion. Old Dominion had a 63.7% chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. Okay, not a good sight for the SEC there, because that is two Sun Belt teams now. Two Sun Belt teams that have taken it to SEC teams. These are not good optics, in my opinion. Alabama, not good. Just, you struggled against South Florida. Vanderbilt, who's not good. Tennessee, who, are they really as good as you think they are? No, not anymore. Oklahoma, this was abysmal. This was just absolutely disgusting. Tennessee, we know theirs. They looked good up until Ohio State. Georgia, your number one SEC team. You struggled against Kentucky. Mississippi State scored 31 points on you. They scored more on your defense than they did against Toledo's, for the love of God. And they played Toledo at home. Okay. You lost against Ole Miss. You let Massachusetts score 21 points on you, most of which was in the first half. Georgia Tech scored 42 points on you. I rest my case. Okay, not dominant. They could still win the Natty, but if you're telling me that this is like pure dominance, then I don't believe you. Okay, I don't actually believe you. Texas, great football team, could win the Natty, but you can't beat Georgia to save your life, and they're inconsistent as hell. Inconsistent as hell. And your guys' marquee win is Texas A&M. Notre Dame can say the exact same thing. So in my opinion, looking at this, when I hear SEC fans, ESPN, talking about top down, they're better than everyone else. Well, the question I have to that too, and if you have different standards for yourself than you do others, you got to ask yourself the question: how is it that you guys have struggled against crappy Sun Belt teams, the worst Big 12 team, and one of the worst ACC teams? That you could not get much worse than that. You have struggled with these teams that you scheduled to be cupcakes, to walk all over, and you didn't walk all over them. So in my opinion, I don't think that they can prove that from top down they are the best. They're just NFL factories left and right. You've had too many situations this year where your team struggled against talent that they shouldn't have if they're really that good. Before we continue, if you guys find this information valuable, please consider subscribing as we work toward our goal of 50,000 subscribers. You guys can support us if you guys want to be glorious through our Amazon affiliate links down below, or even with a super thanks, which is not something we expect. But if you guys do it, just know we'll love you a long time. And now, back to our sweet and sexy topic. So here's the thing with the Big Ten and the SEC, in my opinion. I think the Big Ten is better than what you think they are, and I think they're only going to get better. Okay, because the Big Ten for the longest time has been old dinosaurs where they had these beasts just chained up in the basement. Only one could make it out alive, while the SEC was playing it smart. And they just kept saying, well, hypothetically, you can't beat us. Penn State sucks. Penn State won't beat SEC teams. You can't. Even though Penn State comes way closer to Ohio State than Tennessee did, by far. And Penn State is one of those teams that's now unchained because the Big Ten, when conference expansion hit, and when the playoff expansion hit, the Big Ten members finally said, well, should we go down in the basement now that we're all making a lot of money, and let's make more money? Let's unchain those beasts and let them go. I mean, after all, they're pretty strong. I mean, we got our own beasts too. You know, and the top three biggest stadiums in the country, we own all three of them. Those are those beasts we have chained up. Two of the biggest fan bases, and the other one's a top 10 fan base in the country. They're sitting down there in the basement, chained up. So let's unchain them and let's go see how they can do. And so now you're going to see the Big Ten start to compete because you're actually going to compete against the Big Ten. That's what's going to happen. Penn State's not going anywhere. They could lose this year. They're still coming back. They're not going anywhere. They're going to keep coming back unless just bad things happen to them. But Penn State is a dangerous football team. Michigan's going to come back. It's going to happen. Oregon's not going anywhere. Ohio State's not going anywhere. So these optics of the Big Ten not being good, is going to have to be proven by the SEC now. The SEC just can't say that hypothetically their teams wipe them all out, because they just had to prove that, and it didn't work out well for them with the Tennessee game. It didn't work out well for them with the Clemson and Texas game, in my opinion, either. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. And I think the SEC, when you look at what we just showed you and you've seen what we've already seen in the playoff, I think you can now come to the same conclusion that I'm coming to, which is the SEC is looking like they're a little bit in trouble here. I mean, you have the AD of Alabama hitting the airwaves and asking his fan base for money to the NIL because they're saying we can't compete. Their players are just leaving in a max exodus in the transfer portal. What their top running back, Justice Haynes, where did he go? He went to Michigan, the Big Ten. You're losing not only your talent, but you're losing him to the Big Ten as well, which is just not what you want to see, because the Big Ten's saying, all right, let's pay money. Let's do this. And the Big Ten was already good before that. So I think in the next 5 years, you are going to see the Big Ten show itself and rear its head, and you're going to have to face it. You're going to realize that it's a bigger beast than you think it is, and they deserve a little bit more respect than you think they did. Okay, and I don't think the SEC is as good as they're claiming. And I think to end it, that the Tennessee game really proved that. I mean, it really proved that their narrative is just not correct. I mean, you convinced 30+ thousand SEC fans from Tennessee, which are great fans. Give them a round of applause, folks. You guys are a great fan base, honestly. Fantastic, amazing fan base, so loyal. And you convince them, like, you guys are an SEC team. You're a good SEC team. That's a pathetic, soft Big Ten team. And they were like, hell yeah, you're right. Let's show up 30,000 strong, play Rocky Top everywhere. We're going to plant our flag in the Block O, remove their goalposts after we win, throw it in the river. And that didn't happen. They played Rocky Top. But it was Ohio State playing that at the end of the game, making fun of you. That is not good. They have their backups in with almost 10 minutes left in the game. They played a quarterback who is hitting the transfer portal, for the love of God. They played a true freshman quarterback. They had their 3s and 4s in. They almost played every single... It was brutal. They treated you like they treat Purdue. That was the biggest problem. Marshall did better against Ohio State than Tennessee did. I mean, it was really bad. I thought Tennessee's players were going to hit the transfer portal after the first quarter via X on the sidelines. They were going to say, hey, love the fan base, love the program, but I got to go. The fan base showed up 30,000 strong. I thought they were going to leave the game. At the same time, I thought the players were going to hit the transfer portal right after the first quarter. And I mean, they should have sold their damn tickets to an Ohio State fan at a discount and just said, here you go, I'll give it to you for $50 or whatever. Make some money back. Because Ohio State fans, they buy that up at a discount in a heartbeat and go up there and watch them destroy Tennessee. The biggest problem that I saw with Tennessee in that game was how slow they looked. The strength was another thing, but then the speed was just like really bad. And they talked about injuries, and they said, well, if we had players back, we were just plagued by these injuries. Look, it didn't matter. You needed a dinosaur. You needed like a T-Rex or something, or like a tank, some kind of tank, or the U.S. military, or you needed football Jesus. You needed some divine intervention to win that game. And it was not going to happen. On top of which, blaming the coordinators and the head coach Heupel made no sense to me. No sense at all. They were just as shocked as you were. They were trying everything they could try. Watch the film. They went man coverage on defense. Didn't work. Didn't work at all. It was bad. It ended up being bad. Then they said, let's do zone. That didn't work either. And then you tell me, if you're a defense coordinator and you're told that you should put players in a better position, and you see Trey Henderson on Ohio State get the ball and then break the ankles of your linebacker, then you have a safety who's sitting there who has great real estate. He has a good angle on the running back, and all he can do is touch his shoulder pad. He might as well have slapped his ass, gave him a high five, and said, get that touchdown, baby. Like, what you think he's going to look at it then and say, oh yeah, I should have put my players in better position? What? No. On offense, they were like Run the ball, that's not working. Pass the ball, that's not working. Throw a bunch of screens, that's not working. Nico, run! And then his helmet gets cracked. He's the $8 million quarterback. That's one expensive-ass helmet. The optics of it were so bad, and I think it was an eye-opening experience for the SEC as a whole, even for Big Ten teams. I think Big Ten teams, they knew it, but like it just assured them. And I think some Big Ten fans, it did that same thing with them. And I think it's making the Big Ten feel a little bit better. And what the Big Ten's going to start doing in the future is the fan base is going to start uniting like the SEC is. And once that happens and they keep getting bigger and they're recruiting and they keep getting talked about in a positive light and that they keep winning games, that's going to pose a real problem for the SEC. But anyways, at the end of this all, I really do believe that the SEC and the Big Ten is probably just going to merge anyways. I really do. I think they're going to just merge anyways, and it's all going to be a moot point. And you'll see how talented the Big Ten is when they merge, but you're going to see it before that time anyways. But I really do believe they're going to eventually merge. With all that being said, guys, let us know what you think. Do you think the SEC was exposed in this? And if so, how do you feel about it?